Hey everyone, just before we get to this episode, do you want to start, grow, or monetize your podcast but feel stuck or overwhelmed? Join the Podcast Lab, a monthly membership with live training, templates, support, and a community to help you launch and grow with confidence. Get clarity, stay consistent, and finally build the podcast you've been dreaming of. Join the Podcast Lab today and take your next bold step. The link is in the description to join. Now, let's get into this episode.
It was a beautiful summer. Actually fell off of a roof. Obviously, you don't expect it to happen.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And people are like, oh, what's the legacy I want to leave in the future? The legacy I want to build. Well, when you realize you're not guaranteed tomorrow, legacy is today. Literally, like, have the intention, seek to serve, and it's really going to all flow back to you, whether it be through podcasting or just your life in general. Seek to serve.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Now, in this episode, I had a conversation with Wayne Veldsman. He's a podcaster, entrepreneur, and founder of the Journey to Legacy podcast. And we talked about how he's using his podcast as a powerful tool for purpose-driven impact. We dived into his podcasting journey and what drives him. And also we spoke about a life-changing event that he went through that caused him to pivot into what he's doing right now. And it was really powerful and insightful. So there's a lot of things that we can all learn from this conversation. And just before we get into this episode, I want to let you know about my new podcasting ebook. It's free and you can download it using the link in the description of this episode. And because I've spoken to so many podcasters over the years, I've collected so much wisdom and insight, and I've placed it all in this book. So if you are ready to start your podcast today, you can download this book and follow the blueprint. It's a step-by-step guide of things that you should do in order to start your podcast and start making an impact with your message. No more excuses, no more procrastination, no more confusion. Download the ebook and you'll be able to follow the step-by-step guide to launch your podcast. You can download it by clicking the link in the description, but now let's get into this episode. And you are in Cape Town right now, is that right?
I am sitting in Cape Town, South Africa, right near the beach, the mountains. I sort of live between here and the US. And so although I sound completely American, I am actually originally from South Africa. And so, yeah, super privileged to live here sort of 50% of the time.
Lovely. I love the way that my podcast is just like international, going across oceans and barriers and reaching out to so many people out there. So it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I know there's a time difference for us right now, but I'm glad that we were able to find the time that works so that we can get on this call together and talk about podcasting. But before we get into podcasting and all the goodness that you're going to share, can you maybe introduce yourself? Let us know a little bit about you. I know you just said that you're in Cape Town, but let us know a little bit about you, your journey, and everything up to podcasting, but just to open the window to give people a glimpse about who you are, Wayne.
So in 2015, I fell off of a 2-story building. I woke up about 15 hours later with a neck brace on, tubes down my throat. So actually what happens is they strap your hands to the bed when you wake up from like a medically induced coma because you're going to pull these tubes out of your throat. And I was shocked. I don't know why I was there. And the first thoughts that crossed my mind was, am I paralyzed? And I'm super fortunate that I wasn't. I did actually break 17 bones, including 3 of my vertebrae. And it was a long recovery, but I share this story because that was a huge turning point in my life. It changed very much from living without purpose to living extremely intentionally. And I'm super focused on personal and professional development these days. And that really pivoted everything for me. And so today I'm really blessed to run a brand called Journey to Legacy, where we're actually focused on redefining the word of legacy and helping people to improve themselves both personally and professionally to leave a meaningful legacy on this world. And we're redefining it because legacy no longer has to do with just money or getting a statue built after you or your name on a building. It's actually about that like meaningful impact, the memory that you leave, right? Were you inspirational? Were you a positive person in others' lives, right? Did you leave the world better than you found it? And so, yeah, super, super blessed and grateful to be doing that. I do a handful of other things also, but yeah, that's my biggest passion these days, Chris.
Wow. That's so crazy. You fell out of a window you were unconscious. And now, usually I know we've all heard stories of something traumatic or near death experiences that people go through. And when they survive it, they make a pivot in their life or an instrumental change that kind of pushes them into another direction. I know we talked last time. You didn't mention that. That's something that I think would be absolutely life changing for anybody, fall out of a 2-story window and then in a coma, wake up.
It's interesting because obviously you don't expect it to happen.
Oh, for sure.
Right? and like the biggest thing, like a huge realization to me, and it ties to Journey to Legacy really nicely, is that like this was a factual, we are not guaranteed tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was a beautiful summer, actually fell off of a roof, not out of a window, off of a roof.
Okay. Wow.
And like it was a day sort of like any other. And so either way, so I learned very drastically, very quickly that we are by no means guaranteed tomorrow. And then what happens, Chris, is that like, so this thing with legacy, right, is that people are like, oh, what's the legacy I want to leave in the future? The legacy I want to build. Well, when you realize you're not guaranteed tomorrow, legacy is today. It's every single day, because if it's your last, boom, your legacy now takes effect. It's like, okay, how is he remembered? What did they leave behind? And so we better live it to the fullest every single day, right? Take action every single day.
Oh man, I love this. And again, this is exactly like my heartbeat when it comes to life, right? Because I don't want to just live and just, when our time is up here on earth, nobody remember me. I purposely live, and I've been this way for more than 10 years, right? I used to produce music. I used to write songs, and I wrote some songs. I said to myself, I don't want to leave this earth and there be no memory of me here, no breadcrumbs, of me here left on earth when I leave. And that's my mindset around podcasting as well, right? Live to leave an impact, right? Live to do something, share your heart with someone else out there so that when you're gone, your legacy can live on. So your podcast, again, it's called A Journey to Legacy, right? The Journey to Legacy podcast. Could you talk to us about it? Now, I know you've been doing it since 2018, I think, when you started.
Yeah.
That's that's a long time. So can you introduce your podcast now to us? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So 2018, I launched my first podcast. It was at the time, it was called Work, Grind, Hustle. It was right when I launched into entrepreneurship. And I thought, that's what it took. And that's what the meaning of life almost was, right? Was just work, just grind, just hustle. That's really what my mindset was around business and entrepreneurship. And like over time, it has adjusted a lot. And so today I run the Journey to Legacy podcast, where we are interviewing entrepreneurs and change makers in this world, all about their life stories, really, all about the different challenges that they've overcome, the lessons that they've learned, hopefully allowing our listeners to not have to overcome those same challenges, right? We learn from others. And so we tell these stories about really, really amazing entrepreneurs, some pretty big names, pretty huge change makers in the world. And at the end, it sort of all culminates. Like it's very story based, right? From their origin all the way through all their different businesses that they've grown or leading corporate America, whatever it might be, to their present day, what they're working on, the future, what they project for their businesses and themselves, and then culminating at legacy. And I always ask, really the only scripted question at the way end comes to, what is your definition of legacy and what is the legacy you want to leave on this world? And through that, like I said, we're starting to really just redefine the word for itself. Because when you ask a brand new entrepreneur, right, they are not even making, who knows, $20,000, $30,000 a year. And then when you ask a very seasoned entrepreneur, 100 millionaire status, the definition of legacy, and they sort of almost have similar answers around making a difference, making an impact. it's really, really remarkable, right? It's no longer just about money. Yeah, man, it's a journey to legacy, just telling the stories of entrepreneurs and the legacies that they want to leave on this world.
I want to dig into that just a little bit more. So you talked about your experience when you fell off the roof and the start of this brand and your podcast now, and you decided to focus your podcast on telling these stories, right, from entrepreneurs from different levels. Now, in terms of legacy, now I know that there might be different types of legacies that people can leave behind. Like, for example, I might be thinking that I want to leave a legacy back for my family, and I put all my effort, energy, and focus into making sure I leave back, whatever type of legacy that I believe my family should have. Other people, and what you're doing is you're focusing on the business side of it, right? Or are you? I don't want to just assume. Or are you focusing on like a holistic part of legacy, or is it just the business entrepreneurial stories, or is it just that, or how does the conversations on your podcast go? Do you just focus in on just one, or is it kind of broad?
Yeah, no, it's super holistic actually. So I love entrepreneurship and business, and so that's sort of what we base the stories around. And so that's just who I like to speak to day to day, really. And so I like to talk to entrepreneurs and those stories. But it's super holistic. Honestly, vast majority of the time we end up talking about mindset stuff. It's like I said, like the legacies that people then define to me are about really like mindset impact, teaching people, leaving a positive experience, helping the world to look and see differently, not just leaving monetary value, right? And so, Chris, like you started saying different types of legacies. So, like, continue, I guess, along that train of thought.
Yeah, well, that was my point. I just wanted to know if you specifically just focused on like entrepreneurial legacies, or if you just focused, or if it was a more holistic. And you answered the question, right? So it's a more holistic view that you have. It may start from an entrepreneurial perspective and then branch off to different types of legacies. And one of the things that you mentioned though about mindset, I think is really important for people as well, right? To understand that in order to leave any type of legacy, right? I mean, it took you, I mean, not to make it sound like a joke, because I know it was absolutely serious, but it took you falling off a 2-story building, right, to have that shift, right? Versus someone who, from listening to your podcast, might be able to change their mindset and think differently about their legacy, right? So, and from a holistic perspective. So, I mean, I could totally see the impact that your podcast is having on the lives of other people, because it's falling off a building is not an enjoyable experience that I don't think anyone wants to go through, right? Maybe if you're like a stunt double for a movie, you might enjoy it, but
I don't know if they enjoy it still. They do it, they make money from it. It's thrilling. But I mean, honestly, I leave with that story because that was a huge turning point. But like, there's multiple turning points always
for sure.
In my life and in others' lives, and like just to hit on this piece about like, I interview entrepreneurs and like we focus a lot on business. And it's curious. Actually, I haven't dug super deep into like this mindset right now that you're asking me to think about. It's like, why? And it's honestly interesting because when you think about entrepreneurs in business and you think about legacy, the old school definition is, I want to leave generational wealth. We'll just leave it as simple as that. And man, when I start to interview these crazy entrepreneurs, like I said, it's even like brand new entrepreneurs. So, because people give me this rebuttal, they're like, "Oh, well, of course, a millionaire is going to say like, oh, it's not all about the money, right? It's about like the mental impact and like what you leave emotionally." Easy for them to say. Man, I'll give you multiple episodes where it is a brand new entrepreneur that feels the same way versus a multi-millionaire that feels the exact same way. And so it's almost just changing that definition of like really what's important. And it's not really the money at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think that's a big mindset shift for a lot of people. Now, you alluded to just a moment ago some of the conversations that you had with all of these entrepreneurs. Let me ask you, and I don't mean for you to single one out over the other, because that's not the intent. That's not what I'm intending to do. But was there one episode or one story that really sticks out to you from your journey in podcasting? A conversation that you had, an interview with someone that after you had it, you were like, "Oh my goodness, conversation changed my life or it was so impactful for me?
Yeah. Multiple. It's which one to
Or which one to pick, eh?
highlight. I hope you give me another chance to highlight another one later on in our conversation here. I interviewed an individual's name is Dr. Rob Kelly. He was a addicted alcoholic, homeless.
Mm.
He attempted suicide 7 times, if I'm remembering correctly. He was successful 2 times, meaning he flatlined dead and the EMTs brought him back to life. And through all of these like struggles and like trying to figure things out, it was actually at about 2 a.m. one rainy Sunday night, he essentially meets God. And it's really, really wild. It's like, I get goosebumps like thinking about it, that it's like this stranger like finds him on the sidewalk and like 2 a.m. asks him like, does he need help? And offers, do you want to come home and like, you can come stay at my house. Chris, I don't know about you, but like, I like to think I'm a pretty good person. 2 a.m. I don't know if I see an alcoholic homeless person on the side of the road, if I'm going to invite them to come stay at my house.
Wow.
That's just me. And he goes and then like he ends up going to AA and he ends up finding a job. And then like the whole story just like peaks. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to spoil it or not. It's really, really wild. And then today, he owns it's called Rob Kelly Group. They are actually a global psychology therapy group that is helping people get through addiction, helping people change their mindsets, develop into better humans. And man, coming from ground zero, homeless, like literally trying to kill himself, successfully killing himself, to now just, man, it's really, really wild. And so, like I said, Dr. Rob Kelly was really one of the great.
Wow. That, I listen to, before anyone gets on the podcast, I always go back and listen to a few episodes. I didn't listen to that one. But what we're going to do is after the call, we're finished. You can send me that episode number, send me the link, and I'm going to put it in the description of this episode for people to go to that episode because what you're saying is that's one of the most impactful episodes. And from what you just shared, it sounds like I need to listen to it too, that I'll be so encouraged and motivated from hearing that story as well. I wanted to kind of go back to talk more about the evolution of your podcast. Okay, so you mentioned before that it started off as Work, Grind, Hustle as the title, back when you started in 2018.
Yeah.
Then transitioned to Journey to Legacy, right?
Yeah.
So aside from the name, right, because I think we got a good understanding of why, the name changed, but unless there's more that you want to add about the name, but is there anything else that helped in the evolution of your podcast that you've changed from when you started to now? What other things have changed in your podcast?
Yeah, I mean, a lot has changed actually. And so the biggest thing that changed is really the content.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, also how we record, how I release the episodes, like technical stuff that we can dive in if you want to.
Sure.
Those things have changed. But the content has changed, whereas it started out, like I said, almost like an audio diary, where it was really just following when I first became an entrepreneur. And I would tell lots of stories. And like, if I was having struggles with finding clients or struggles with a business partner, like all those stories are there. So it's a little bit, like I said, of like an audio diary that I'm excited to be able to go back and like listen to. And so I still release episodes like that every now and then. But over the years, right, since 2018, it's like, 7 years ago, like I have grown so much as an individual just through coaching and mentorship and reading just endless books, that's why the content changed. It changed from, okay, I'm going to show you how I'm working and grinding and hustling, right? All the things. And I was sharing, like, marketing tips of, exactly what I'm doing, exactly what I would change, how to do this, how to be a better salesman, all that kind of stuff. That I just realized and learned that there's just like that's not the most important thing in life. Like, the most important thing, like, it boils down to mindset, to how you interact with people. And so the content is the biggest thing that changed, man. Just because I changed and I realized like this is what people truly need in their lives is really a mindset shift.
Gotcha. Yeah, wonderful. Now, I wanted to find out a little bit more about your process. First of all, I think a lot of podcasters who are out there, they start off with an interview-based podcast. And one of the challenges that they face is how to find new client or how to find new guests on their podcast. Where do you find people to, interesting people to talk to? And in your case, you talk to entrepreneurs. And so my question to you would be, how do you find and vet the clients that you have on your podcast, the guests that you have on your podcast? What's your process like in terms of finding them and also vetting them to make sure that they actually have something of substance to bring to your audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give three different methods actually for finding guests, for vetting them for your podcast. Number one, where I started was Facebook groups. I'm sure that you're familiar, Chris. I'm sure past guests have sort of given this tip. There's tons of Facebook groups about podcasting, podcast guest connection, stuff like that, where you can literally just go post, this is my show. This is the target audience I have and the target audience for who I'm wanting to interview. And then people will comment to be like, hey, yes, I want to be interviewed. I want to be interviewed, or I have a recommendation for someone who should be interviewed. And it works really well. It works really seamlessly. I recommend to join multiple of the groups and communities, and specifically join the one that is filled with people that are looking to get interviewed and then also looking to interview. Right? And so that's a really great sort of mixed culmination of it. So there you got to do a little bit of homework. And so this is sort of the vetting piece that's going to follow for the next following few steps as well. But do your homework, by simply Googling their name, right? For me, I look at business people. And so I Google their organization, right? See how public they are. What are they actually doing, right? And again, for me, hopefully, I'm looking for people that are farther down their journey of business. And so there should be a good amount of stuff out there about them, right? It's not like, entrepreneurs that don't even have a website yet. They're at least up and running these days. They're getting bigger and bigger. But yeah, so just Google their name, check out their social media profiles, see what they're doing. And then a 15-minute phone call can really, really go a long way also, right? Before you promise somebody an interview, say, hey, can we have a 15-minute call to just see like if we vibe well together, right? If our energies play off of each other. And then in the call, like if for some reason you're not feeling it right, it's like, well, you set the proper upfront expectation saying, hey, can't guarantee you an interview, right? But I would love to have a call to see if it makes sense. And then at the end, if you just say to them, hey, thank you, appreciate it. 15 minutes of your time, right? Was nothing. Boom, boom. Keep it to 15 minutes. I'm sorry, but like it doesn't seem like we actually have the right connection. I'm trying to take my interviews in a different direction, right? It's nothing personal about them. It's me. I am not vibing. I'm sorry. I'm trying to take my interviews in a different direction.
I love that. And I love the way that I don't know, I don't want to call it like a rejection for your point. Yeah, but I love the way how you, because that was going to be my question to you. How do you, if you reach out to someone and if, because everyone has that designation on their social media profiles of entrepreneur,
Sure.
It's so, people put it up there so openly, right? And they don't really have the business behind them really to back that up.
Yeah.
And so I could see how in your space, how you can have to actually say, hey, you know what? You're kind of not what I'm looking for, maybe, but I love the way that you actually, for lack of a better term, let them down easy, right? To say that it's not you, it's me and what I'm looking for my podcast. It doesn't really fit. Have you ever were there any tough conversations you ever had to have with someone when you were like saying no thank you to having them on your podcast?
Chris, honestly, no. Luckily, no.
Good.
And if I need to, it's more reason that you just made the correct decision, right? That this isn't somebody that is going to be a collaborator, right?
Not a
If
good
they
fit.
are now offended, that the trick is, right, just outline the appropriate upfront expectations, right? Set them out correctly of, hey, I'm trying to figure out who is the correct fit. You seem like a potential. Can we discuss and see? Okay, great. Well, I didn't guarantee you anything at all. And so now if you're upset, like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
like,
confirming.
there's nothing else.
It's confirming the
Yes.
fact that that's not a good fit for you if they're getting upset when you reject them, right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And so no, that's one good way to look at it. And like, you know what? If you upset some people, well, luckily there's almost 9 billion more in the world. So let's move on to the next one. But I have two other cool tips for finding guests, if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Go ahead.
Beautiful. So Facebook groups is number one. Number two, I use LinkedIn a lot. LinkedIn has really, really great filters for being able to search for your ideal target audience. So not only can you type in a keyword, let's just say podcaster or podcast, after that, you can filter even more. So it is mostly business, right? So you can see like, okay, well, what industry do they work in? How much experience do they have? Do they have mutual connections to me? And then from there, right, I actually then can immediately vet them. Okay, this person looks interesting for me, right? I look for business experience. For Chris, maybe he looks for podcast experience. It's like, okay, how long have they been recording podcasts for? And then when you send a connection request, I think it's up to, the numbers change on LinkedIn. It's maybe up to 10 notes you can send with your connection request a day. And so then I just shoot them a note, right? Found you through LinkedIn. I'm impressed by what you do. Are you open to being interviewed on my podcast? Here's the link to the show.
Nice.
And almost everybody says yes, because everybody wants more promotion for themselves or business or that. So LinkedIn is a good route. Chris, have you tried that one before?
I haven't tried LinkedIn, but you were not the first person that suggested LinkedIn to find guests for your podcast. Actually, the other guest that I can't remember who it was, but someone else who I had on this podcast said that they actually use LinkedIn, and they actually spoke about the filters and the ability to kind of narrow down your search on LinkedIn to find the specific people that you're looking for. So that is the second time I've heard that on this podcast. So for everyone else out there listening, if you're looking to try to find guests on your podcast, LinkedIn might be a good approach for you to try to find and qualify and vet your guests, because I mean, all of their business experience, their work experience would be on their LinkedIn profile, right? So it's all there for you, right? Yeah. So it's a good place to go. So what's the third tip that you have for a podcast? So you said Facebook groups, talked about LinkedIn. What's the third one that you have for us?
So tip number 3 is there are tons of agencies out there that place people into podcasts and can also help you find guests, right? Now, depending how far along your path you are or how much expendable income you have, you might not want to actually pay to have somebody, a dedicated public relations person for your show going out and finding guests, right? But so those agencies exist. A cool backwards way that I sort of accidentally discovered, I didn't do this process myself, but I've recommended it to a few people, is if you go find these agencies where individuals sign up and say, hey, help me land interviews on podcasts. And if you reach out to them as the podcaster, saying, hey, I know that you place people interviews into shows. Well, I run a really great show about X, Y, and Z, right? What would it take to get actually added onto your list? Nice. And so I mean, that's like my favorite tip, because Chris, I'm super fortunate that it's been, pushing 6 months maybe that I haven't had to go search for my own guests anymore.
Wow.
Because I have enough of these PR people now that have a seemingly endless list of people that need to be interviewed onto shows. And and so they just send me recommendations like 3 minutes before our interview actually started. Just got an email that said like guest recommendation.
Nice.
Beautiful. I will check them out later.
Nice. So this is something. So this is the main way that you find guests for your podcast, is it?
Yeah, I'm fortunate. The main way right now is that, like I said, these like public relations people, they pitch guests to me.
Right. Okay.
Great.
Wonderful. Okay. So now you touched in there just a moment if you have the funds to pay for an agency to do this for you. And that leads me to like another question, right? Because I mentioned to you, I think last time when we were speaking, that I have a studio and people come in and they record their podcast, but there's a cost to that, right? When people come and record their podcast in my studio, right? And it might cost money to, for some of the tools and some of the equipment. And like for this, the agency, help to try to find people for your podcast. And what I usually tell people is do as much as you can for yourself. If your podcast doesn't have any way of generating leads or revenue for you, because I think that people who get into podcasting, they either have the skills to do certain technical skills to do it themselves. They have unlimited budget, that they can pay someone else to do it for them, like the editing or the agencies to, find people. Or the third thing is their podcast actually can generate some revenue or some leads for some other product to sell products or something else in their business, right? Those are the three groups that I think people fall under when it comes to podcasters. So for yourself and your podcast, do you have any streams of revenue that you have in your podcast? Maybe like affiliate links or, partnerships, or if you have any of your own products or courses or anything that you sell through your brand that actually help fund your podcast as well?
Yeah. And so I'm fortunate that I keep having to fund the podcast is really just funding my time. Right. And so I am between Cape Town and the US, right? And I'm fortunate that I travel a lot. And so I don't have a studio that I record in. I try and keep the audio quality as good as possible. And other than that, we do it from any and every location. And so I don't have tons of cost for that except for my time. But so, and so we push only our own products, our own services through the podcast, right? So Journey to Legacy, like I said, it's built as a personal professional development company, doing a lot of online courses, a lot of group and then one-on-one coaching. And so the listeners of the podcast end up being a lead source for me, as well as sometimes the guests that I interview, which is great, right? Because when you're just focused on serving and helping others, they sort of want more help, I suppose. And so it's never been and it never will be my intention to be like, I call it almost like a bait and switch of like, hey, you want to come get interviewed on my show because boom, I'm going to sell you something. Like, no, by no means, right? But a big piece of our business right now is actually teaching individuals how to communicate better, how to listen deeper, ask better questions, which helps them personally and professionally to build stronger relationships, close deals, make more friends, have a better relationship between your wife or you and your kids and your family and friends. And so through the podcast, I essentially get to demonstrate my communication skills. And then it's a really easy pivot to be able to say, let us help you with your communication skills.
Love it.
And so, this is a little bit of sort of the tidbits.
Yeah,
but it's by no means my sole lead generation revenue source is the podcast. Like I said, I still do it so much just to learn and meet new people.
Yeah, that's great. And I totally love that. So what I would encourage everybody listening right now is if you do have, whatever other products or things that, try to be creative and use your podcast as a tool to not, immediately pitch your product right away because you don't want to come across as salesy, on your podcast, but seek to serve your listeners first and give them the best that you can give them and to be helpful. And in being yourself and being helpful, you will help people to know, like, and trust you. And that will help them to buy from you. Now, I think the last time we spoke, you mentioned some software to me. I think it was called Go High Level, right?
Yes. Yeah, I love Go High Level.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the tools that you use for your podcast. So I know you recommended that one to me. Can you share a little bit about that one or some of the other tools that you use for your podcast, please?
Definitely. Yeah, Chris, I appreciate it. First off, let me just reiterate. You said seek to serve first.
I did.
I just love that. I just want to reiterate it to everybody, right? Literally, like, have the intention, seek to serve, and it's really going to all flow back to you, whether it be through podcasting or just your life in general. Seek to serve. I actually had a conversation with a friend today. I run a digital marketing agency as well. And so he is sort of newer in the digital marketing space. And we were discussing some of these really big thought leaders and influencers in the world. And they are more and more steering towards just serve. It's like they're not even ever mentioning their products, their services. They're never pitching at all. And it gets to this point where it's like when they serve so much, they provide so much value, the listener will get to this point, or the viewer will get to this point where they're just like, what is this person doing? Like, how can I get more help intentionally?
Yeah.
And then they go get it. Or if an ad or something random, like they still do marketing, obviously, they're still actively selling. So if an ad comes across like their screen, they're like, oh, thank goodness, finally. It's like, this person has given me so much free value. Which is like, I want to buy from them. I want to work with them.
Exactly.
So seek to serve first.
Absolutely.
Love that, Chris. And so as far as tools, softwares that I am using, I will start with Go High Level. So Go High Level is really an all-in-one digital marketing software. And so it's where it does the entire back end. And so it's the website that my podcast is hosted on. I have a private podcast website. And so I can schedule all of my interviews directly through there, which is a totally automated process. And so I send people to a specific web page, and then I let them fill out a form, a application form, and then it directly is linked to my calendar also that shows the availabilities that I've chosen, that I've designated for the podcast to do interviews. And so they immediately schedule like that. And then it does all my automated email and text message follow-ups also. So it is telling me when somebody has applied. I can approve them or not. And then it sends them notifications automatically of, you've been approved. This is the date that you scheduled for. It automatically goes in their calendar. It sends them the automatic reminders also of the episode. Which is great. So Go High Level is a really, really amazing tool for absolutely everything you have to do digitally. Honestly, it's the best. So go check it out. I'm sure here's an affiliate code for you. No, do yourself a favor and just go ahead and go to their website and check it out. If you want to reach out to me and ask me about it, feel free. But then, so that's the primary one. And then for recording, I actually record through Zoom. I'm busy looking into different tools, mostly to help with my editing, and potentially if it can help with recording at the same time, I'll do that. And I'm looking at Descript. We were talking about it earlier, so I might as well mention it, right? It's got lots of good new AI stuff built into it. But I record through Zoom. Zoom has really wonderful audio. You can control like how the layout of the videos get pushed to you. You can control if you wanted to actually record separate sort of video feeds, if you will. And so I keep it really simple. I edit everything. The team edits everything through Final Cut Pro. Which is a video editing software, and so it's not podcast specific. But I'm pretty excited about Descript actually. I think it should be a good one. So that's sort of the setup, right? Nothing too fancy.
Yeah. I do want to just touch on Go High Level for a second because my process, I think we talked about it before. It's basically like a jigsaw puzzle of different applications and me trying to put things together that fit. But I think for podcasters out there, they might have that same perspective, trying to put things together with regards to technologies to get things to work together. If Go High Level, can make that process easier, right? Where everything is automated, the communications, all of the scheduling and all these other things that you mentioned and everything else that it could do that you probably didn't even mention. If it can make it easier, I'm all about that, because when it comes to podcasting, there's so much other work that we need to do. Like we talked about, how do we find guests and prepare for guests? And that might take up some energy. You talked about editing just now and using Descript. That process takes up energy and effort as well. So wherever we can find ways to be efficient as podcasters, I am all for that, right? So it sounds like this tool has some built-in automation that can help take the thinking out of the process, where you can just schedule things and, allow the automation to take over for you.
Yeah, dude, Chris, I'll just reiterate that again, because what you just said is that if you can make it easier on yourself, and I think the easiest way to do that is use less softwares and quit bouncing around from one software to another, to another, to another. That is really key. And so for me right now, I think I mentioned 3, right? I use Go High Level for all the back end, Zoom to record, and then Final Cut Pro for the editing.
Right.
But now that I'm looking at Descript, it will replace Zoom and it will replace Final Cut Pro.
Right.
I'll be able to record straight through there, and then it will edit almost the entire thing for me also. So whatever you can do to make your process easier and use less different tools, really the better.
Awesome. Okay, Wayne, look, let's do this. We're wrapping up now. Can you give one final piece of insight that you have learned, and one big takeaway, something that everyone listening can be like, wow, that is the one piece of insight that I need from this conversation? What would that be?
Chris, I appreciate it. First off, thanks for the platform. Thanks for just being a great communicator in yourself. But the one insight, one takeaway, be consistent. And first off, it's going to be actually take 2 steps back and think through, is podcasting actually what I want to be doing, right? In 5 years from now, I mean, think about 10 years from now, ideally. It's like, do I want to be podcasting? Do I want to be filming, recording content, right? Because podcasting will probably look different 10 years from now. But it's like, is that what I want to actually be doing? Do I enjoy it? It's like, I'm so fortunate that I'm like a people person and I love asking questions and I'm really curious. And so if I record the conversations or not, I'm going to keep having these conversations for my entire life.
Right.
And so podcasting works really well for me. So take a step back and think, is this something I actually want to be doing? And if the answer is yes, 5 years from now, like, I would love it if there was a person following me around, or like somebody that was like, yeah, we're going to record the episode. And you're like, let's go. I'm super excited. Oh, you already booked a guest? Amazing. Like, nice. Let's do this thing. If you can picture that, then my biggest tip is just consistency, right? Consistency, like start out recording and publishing consistently 1 episode a month. Then consistently start recording and publishing 1 every 2 weeks. And consistently start publishing 1 every week. Because everybody, although that I started in 2018, right? I didn't have the consistency. I would have a top 10 podcast these days if I had started consistently and kept going since then. But Chris, I used to be that, I would release an episode and then it would be 3 minutes long. And then 2 weeks later, there'd be a, 20-minute long episode. And then 2 months later, another one. And then 8 months later, another episode. And then, a year later. Well, then once I started being consistent, actually, that's when really it started picking up momentum in the form of views, of actually people wanting to get onto the episodes to be a guest, right? People helping me, and then of course the monetization piece of the puzzle, obviously. But yeah, consistency is the key.
Wonderful. So you sounded like the guest that I would have rejected on my podcast back when you started.
I was.
Oh, Wayne, this has been a wonderful conversation. I loved everything that we talked about. This was a blast. So everyone listening, Wayne Veldsman, his podcast is called Journey to Legacy Podcast. I'm going to put links in the description for his podcast, his socials, and every other link that he provided me so that you can connect with him and listen to his podcast. Wayne, thank you so much for being on I Made a Podcast. This was a wonderful conversation. I'm so glad that we connected and we're able to make this thing happen. Thank you.
Chris, appreciate it, man. My pleasure.